Okay, guys, well, this is a Mystery Teachings Research Notes, and this is the 13 Real Tribes of Israel. And I'm just going to basically be following on from the other connections I've made. It's just a raw video where I'm putting down notes and trying to make the connections using the sacred geometry codes that we have found in the pendant and the tree of life. Now, I had actually made a diagram earlier about the differences between the male wisdom and female intellect, and I'd used these two paintings just to give you an example in a symbolic way. And I did just want to go through some of the symbolism that is within these paintings a little bit more. But I also wanted to explain that the emanation of creation from the divine mind, the first mental creation from the divine mind, actually splits in two upon that manifestation. And it consciously manifests in mental gender on the physical plane as wisdom and intellect. And so it is the male that carries down the wisdom, but it is the female that carries the understanding for the wisdom. And so it's this harmonious exchange of information that makes them a conduit, a vessel for divine intelligence. And therefore we see at work the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. Now, I had a look a little bit more into these paintings, and I saw some more really interesting symbolic connections that I wanted to show you. First, I just wanted to start with the Virgin Mary. They call her in this one, but I'm going to call her Mary Magdalene because she is Mary Magdalene in everything, and it's just the church has tried to confuse and, manipulate to create a different storyline. But you can still see the original storyline there when you have the correct information to begin with. Unfortunately, the religious herd, don't have the correct information to begin with. They have just the fairy tale information. And they never really understand themselves. And this is why I never really agree with any religious institutions, no matter who they are, and how reformed they think they are or how progressive they think they are. If they're not telling people the truth of who they are, if they're not actually, really being that conduit of divinity, of divine intelligence at this time, then really, I don't think we're going to find any, kind of real information or truth with them. And it's just a shame that the religious herd didn't actually apply themselves, because it's always been about applying yourself. And if you're sitting here listening to this video and applying yourself, then you are on the path of the philosopher and you are on the path of the hermit. So just think of that lantern that you hold at your heart illuminating your path, and these are the divine guideposts that were left for us, for those that were paying attention. And so the more we look into them, the more information they give us. And so we can see that Mary Magdalene's standing on a sphere, but also she's got the moon. Okay, so we're seeing that the ethereal is now being represented. And interestingly, we see that we've got the sphere that she is standing upon, but we've also got the serpent with the apple. Now, if you'd watched the previous videos, you know that the serpent and the apple is connected to the tribe of Dan. And it's interesting that she's on the sphere, because we know that the sphere is representing the tribe of Reuben, which is also Malkuth, which is representing the root. Now, the other interesting information that they give us in this painting is this palm tree and also this lily. Now, we see this lily quite a lot in the religious paintings in connection with Mary Magdalene and also the Virgin Mary, but I'm just saying it's just the same figure but just in different aspects, because there are different ways to look at the Christ and Jesus and Mary Magdalene and the Virgin Mary, because there's the ethereal and the physical manifestation of that as well. So we look at that within the symbolism. So for now, we're looking at it as though there is an intellectual quality to this, because we see this at the Annunciation of Mary Magdalene, where she receives the information. And so this has been brought down as well, and we can see this is touching the sphere, so it's like divine intelligence being brought down. And then I had a look at the palm tree, and I had a look at a bit of the meanings behind the symbolism, and it was quite interesting. Now, it goes on to say, now it doesn't really get good till you get down here to the, is it the Judaism, or it was here, the Assyrian religion, okay? They go on to say that the palm is one of the trees identified as the sacred tree connecting heaven, represented by the crown of the tree, and earth, the base of the trunk. And so it's basically showing you the connection between the ethereal and earth. Okay, it's like a pillar, isn't it? It almost looks like, a pillar to heaven. And they say that they fan the palm fronds to basically be in touch with the divine. And so we can imagine that they're using those as kind of an antenna to the ethereal. And we even see this on the top of the ancient Egyptians when they do those depictions sometimes, and they've got these feathers on top of their heads like it's an antenna. And this is basically what the palm fronds are representing, this reaching up to consciousness, the sacred tree that reaches into the divine and passes into the divine. And so it's our conduit between the divine and foundation. Now it's interesting that it goes on to say that it's associated with the goddess Ishtar. Okay, now Ishtar is the divine female. Okay, she is the divine female Messiah. I have done plenty of videos on that also. You can go through my playlists, and there is full confirmation of who Ishtar is and how she is connected to all of the other goddesses. And they are all the same goddess. They are all telling the same story, but just in different mythology. But it's the same story over and over again. And it's just when you understand what you're looking at, you can actually see it. And so I found that that was really interesting. And it also goes back to the goddess Inanna as part of the sacred marriage ritual, and was believed to make the dates abundant. Palm stems represented long life to the ancient Egyptians, and the god Ha was often shown holding a palm stem with one or both hands. And they represented eternal life, and they were carried in the funeral processions. So they're actually showing us that this is our connection to our divinity, to the ethereal, to our immortality. Okay? This is the, conduit. This is another representation of it, but this is more showing us that this is very much connected to the ethereal. And the reason we're seeing it this way is because it is connected to Mary Magdalene, and they are showing her, this artist has very much shown her in the ethereal. He has wanted to relay that. And we can even see up here, we've got the dove. Now the dove is symbolic for divine intelligence that's been brought through on the ether. Okay? And now we have the male, and he's got the cross on his chest. Now that's the connection that he has with the sun, because he has to transmute Ketha through his heart to illuminate the Ark of the Covenant. And from the illumination of the Ark of the Covenant, it is then that the female Messiah illuminates also and understands more. It's like this feedback system. And we can see here that Jesus is being represented as the tribe of Dan as well. We've got the wings, so we can see the representation of the eagle, the symbol of the eagle being shown here. We've got the cross, which is symbolic for Jesus, and I've shown in previous videos there has been a connection to Jesus and also this cross. And we've also got the sword. He's carrying the sword, and we know that the tribe of Dan is also ruled by the sword. If we go over and we just quickly refresh, we can see that the tribe of Dan is the eagle. They're ruled by the north, air, the mental, Ketha, swords and spades. Okay? And so we're seeing all of this symbolism within here as well. And so after we have a look at this, symbolism within the male, we can start to apply it to the other symbols that we are finding as well. And we can see how they've made some slight changes, but how we're seeing that this information is constantly being relayed in basically the same way. Now, I just wanted to make mention of a very important factor in this piece that I have now seen. We can make some more confirmations about the tribe of Dan being ruled by the tribe of the north, and also being connected to the first begotten son of the Father, because we can see on his leggings here, he's got what is known as the Fleur de Lis, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, the Fleur de Lis, but I'll show you what it is. It's one of these, okay? It's on the compass at north. All right, that's what it's called, a fleur de lis. Now, what's interesting is that we can see a variation on the Moroccan flag, and we can even see that they've got the 4 tribes and the 4 elements and the 4 different thrones represented right here on the flag. Now we can see that always with the tribe of Dan, you'll always have the point at the beginning, because it's always representing that first emanation of the Creator's mental manifestation onto foundation. So you'll always see that, and you'll see it split in 2, because that's the gender, mental gender splitting in 2 of wisdom and intellect, that then also gets to transform and be manifest separately onto the physical, manifested physically, separated and manifest onto foundation. And that is done through the Messiah, the male Messiah, and then from the male Messiah, from the first mental emanation of the divine mind, comes the female Messiah, and then from that expands everything else, but it all comes first from the first begotten Son of the Father, because he is the first mental emanation of the divine mind. And then from all else, that it's the other messiahs, and then it would be keep layering out, and this is how it works up to 104, and then from then it's the next layering out of the emanation of humanity from the 104 divine on the foundation that has been manifest from the physical, manifest from the divine intelligence. But the first, it all starts with the one emanation of the first thought of the Creator. And as I said, it splits into wisdom and intelligence, which is also represented as gender in the female, Emmanuel, and the male, Jesus. When you even see this on the tetragrammaton of the heart, which looks exactly like the spade. You just take away the bottom, which is just representing the Trinity as well on the spade. But you'll always see the point. That's why it's the swords. That's why it doesn't change. When you have a look at to use the D to Danan, it's still the swords. The swords never change, and that's because it is the first emanation. And so we see it here on the Moroccan flag quite clearly. We see it here with the Fleur de Lis, and then we see it here with this rose, and it's got 5. Well, we know that the Pentacles is 5 because it's representing, the divine destiny, the will of the Creator, Judah, the fire, and then we have here the cups, okay, the heart, and we even have this shape of a cup, and then we have the clubs, and we know that it's, we know that they work in that way too, that it's Kether that's brought down to foundation. It's this, the spades that are brought down to the clubs. And so we even see this playing out on the Moroccan flag. So it just goes to show you how much they know about the symbolism within the, higher upper areas. Now, where else am I going? I'm just trying not to get lost, guys, because I'm finding a few different things. Now, right, I wanted to read more about the Fleur de Lis, because it is, as I said, representing the north, okay? And they go on to say that it's the mark of the pole star, and it's the north mark. Oh, God, this program. The use of the Fleur de Lis as the north mark was introduced by Pedro renal, and quickly become customary as a compass roses and is still often used today. Old compass roses also often use a Christian cross, okay? But it's always they point north, okay? So it's connected with the north. It's always connected with the north. And so now we can see on the leg here of Jesus, he's got the north, showing the north tribe of Dan once again. We're seeing it, it's everywhere. And so as I was showing you before with Tiutha Di Danan, we've got the spear, okay? Reuben, the wands and clubs, all represented across culture. The same with Judah, same with sword. As I said, we've got the sword, swords and spades with Dan, and then the cauldron, Ephraim, cups and hearts. Okay, and now if you have a look at this Greek painting, okay, you will see he has got a spear. There's once again the eagle, all right, and the fleur de lis is here being represented once again. Now this is the mythology from the Greeks, and it's called Ganymede. Now it's probably called Ganymede, but I actually like Ganymede, and I just say words the way I like them. So I'm just going to read it as Ganymede, and I'll just read you this story, and you guys can just kind of pick out too where there is so much connection to what we've been finding. And so it goes on to say, in Greek mythology, Ganymede is a divine hero whose homeland was Troy. Homer describes Ganymede as the most beautiful of mortals. He was the son of Tros of Dardania, whose name Troy was supposed to derive, and Calliope. His brothers were Ilas and Assyricus. In one version of the myth, he is abducted by Zeus in the form of an eagle. Now we know Zeus is representing Ketha, okay? So it's Ketha, the eagle is Ketha, and the eagle is also representing the Messiah and the first emanation of the divine intelligence, okay? And this is why we see it. It's all a story about the ether returning and God consciousness returning with it, symbolized by the eagle, okay, coming down through Ketha, from Ketha, onto the physical plane, onto, Reuben, man. And so this has just been seen over and over again. We've seen this here. And I find it interesting that we've even got Dan again in this word, okay? And so then it goes on to talk about the gift of fine horses as well. Zeus is said to have compensated Ganymede's father, Tros, by the gift of fine horses, the same that carry the immortals. Very interesting. The same horses that carry the immortals, delivered by the messenger god Hermes. Tros was consoled that his son was now immortal and would be cupbearer for the gods, a position of much distinction. Walter Burkett found a precedent for the Ganymede myth on an Akkadian seal that depicts the hero king Etna riding heavenwards on an eagle. In Olympus, Zeus granted him eternal youth and immortality. So it's talking about the divine one, okay, the Messiah. Once again, we're seeing it, in this story. And, bits and pieces we can put together. Now, this is the thing about this information, that we know that we can confirm parts of it now because we've got confirmation with the eagle, the tribe of Dan, and all the other information with the sword. And so we can just begin to continue confirming the information. And then as we get more information, we then can continue confirming more of what is left of the information. Because we have to understand too that a lot of this information has been, manipulated by the Romans, okay? But we're actually getting we're getting the part of the story that we need. We're seeing the eagle, we're seeing it over and over again in representation with the Messiah, with the first begotten Son, in connection to Zeus, in connection to the eagle, okay? The cupbearer, that's the Holy Grail, the eagle and the Holy Grail are one and the same basically, because the cupbearer is also the female Messiah, okay? The Holy Grail, which is what they called Mary Magdalene. The Gnostics called Mary Magdalene the Holy Grail, okay? They knew. And so we see this, often in the symbolism, and it's been kept in there, the cupbearer, thankfully, you know, the Romans didn't completely corrupt it because they've pretty much done the best job they've tried. Oh, and look, we've even seen Ganymede is in the sky of the constellation Aquarius. How very interesting. So once again, we're seeing the ether because we know Aquarius is the water bearer, and the water is actually symbolizing the ether. And so, you know, once again, we're seeing more confirmation. So I will link that underneath, guys, and you can do more research into that as well. So that's some more interesting information that I found in connection to everything else. And so this is what we're seeing portrayed here in this mosaic from the Greek mythology. Something that wasn't destroyed by the Romans, obviously, but I just found it interesting that we saw this Fleur de Lis, and now we know the information behind it, and that it's connected to the tribe of Dan and the North, quite clearly. That's how they represent the North. Now, there's a lot of other very interesting information about the compass rose as well that I would suggest you go and have a look at, and the different angles and what they mean. North is at 0.2, which I find interesting because we know that the first emanation comes from 0, and so 0 degrees is where north is. And so we see this over and over again. So there's some really interesting angles that can be taken from the compass points, and the compass points being at 8 as well. The main ones. It's just really, really interesting. So yeah, I'll put this all underneath, guys, and you can check that out more. But I just wanted to bring you what I've been finding. I thought that was interesting, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Anyway, I'll leave it there, and as always, peace out.